Golden Globes just had their 81st annual ceremony, and people had a lot to say about it. Welcome back to Beyond the Screen. I'm your host Dana, and today we are talking about the top 10 embarrassing moments from the 2024 Golden Globes caught on camera. Starting off our list, we have how Joe Coy was described as the worst host ever. Now, Joe Coy is supposed to be a comedian, which means he's supposed to be funny, but he had the crowd pity laughing because his bits turned into more of a monologue, and people were less than impressed. He claimed he only got the gig 10 days before the event, so if they wanted him to be a perfect host, they should just shut up. Isn't it your whole job to be able to make and write jokes that are funny? No one expects perfection, but it could have at least been polished. Fans were blasting him on social media about his comments on Robert De Niro as well, because Joe said that he was sorry that he was a fan of his. And the fact that Robert De Niro got his 29-year-old girlfriend pregnant was his best performance yet, considering he's 80. While it did make the crowd laugh, his jokes came off as abrasive rather than funny. Which brings me to my next point. Joe Coy's jokes about Taylor Swift. One of the more abrasive jokes he made was about Taylor Swift, and we know how well those jokes go over. Well, the joke in question was that the difference between the Golden Globes and an NFL game was that there was less coverage of Taylor Swift. Some people gasped and other people chuckled, but Taylor did not appreciate it. She didn't even crack a smile. She just pursed her lips, took a sip of her drink, and glared at him with pure malice. The fact that she was just there for attendance made it worse because she was there with her friends, notably Selena Gomez, who we'll talk more about later. But he went out of his way to call her out and felt the wrath of Swift fans. Which brings us to the next point, about how Joe Coy was backpedaling on the joke. After his hosting, Twitter went a little haywire. Fans were saying things like how he just walked on set and said, "I'm hosting," and no one did a background check to make sure that was a good idea. And that the audience was pity laughing because of his Barbie jokes, and it was more than obvious he missed the point of the movie. That and his monologue was just plain awful. But when fans got to the Swift jokes, he began backpedaling, trying to defend himself, saying that Taylor and Travis's relationship is cute. There just happened to be fewer cutaways. He then said, maybe she was just thirsty, maybe she just needed a drink and it was weird timing. No man, your joke wasn't funny and she didn't appreciate that. She's made it clear she was only at the games to support Travis, and she isn't worried about pissing off other fans, because she's just there for him, not for them. Following that up, we have Timothée Chalamet and Kylie Jenner's appearance. To wrap my head around the fact that Timothée Chalamet is dating Kylie Jenner is already a hard one to picture, considering he looks 14 but he's really 28 and she's 26 but she looks 30. But because he was nominated, no one was really surprised he brought his girlfriend as a date. However, in classic Hollywood fashion, they showed up late, but they were adorable all the same. They were wearing matching black sequin outfits and were displaying a good amount of PDA throughout the ceremony, and were caught being absolutely smitten with one another. While it's adorable, it caused a little bit of tension, which brings me to the next point, about Kylie's protective energy. Of course, you can't blame Kylie for being protective, but when Selena Gomez asked Timothée for a photo because you know he's a famous actor, Kylie stepped in and said no. Selena took that back to the table and shared this with Taylor Swift, who she is really good friends with, like I mentioned before. But this isn't as surface level as Kylie being protective. It goes as far back as Selena's beef with Hailey Bieber. Taylor and Selena are besties, and Hailey and Kylie were besties. So obviously there's still some residual hate from Kylie towards Selena because of the incident that happened over the previous years. But you'd think she'd feel safe enough in their relationship that she wouldn't mind letting him take photos with fans. The whole thing seemed to have an off vibe to it, but it was embarrassing that Kylie had her insecurities outed like that. Next on the list, we have how Barbie was practically ignored despite winning. Now, Barbie was a smash at the box office, making $155 million on opening weekend alone, but aside from the jokes, it was relatively ignored throughout the ceremony. Now, that's not saying they didn't win. Billie Eilish won an award for the best song in a movie, while 2 other songs from the movie were nominated as well, and the movie itself won a cinematic and box office achievement. But the movie was nominated for a good chunk of the categories. Considering how many memes there were, how many songs were streamed from the movies, and how it affected the entire internet algorithm, I feel like it deserved a little more recognition than what it got. and it's almost embarrassing that it didn't. To follow that, we have how Studio Ghibli beat out Disney. Now, this is a huge feat. Disney owns just about everything, and they dominate the animation business, owning Pixar, Blue Sky, as well as a few other animation studios aside from DreamWorks. So for Studio Ghibli to pull ahead and out on top is incredible. They have a Japanese art style that's truly beautiful and magical, and has been flying under the radar for years, considering they haven't released a new full-length movie in years as well. And they haven't made such a huge theater debut in decades. So for them to not only win, but beat out Disney Pixar's Elements and Disney's Wish, as well as Into the Spider-Verse, because Sony is also owned by Disney, while it's incredible that they won, the Disney name has to feel some embarrassment considering they had 3 movies in the running and still lost. Next up, we have how Killers of the Moonflower was also widely ignored. Now, this was predicted by a lot of avid movie watchers considering the nature of the film compared to everything else that was released this year. They received 7 nominations over many categories, but only won a single award. And it wasn't for the movie itself, but rather Lily Gladstone's portrayal of her character in the movie. So there has to be some embarrassment there. The fact that they lost on every front except hers. They say you can't win them all, but they didn't win any for the movie itself. But it did have a more serious subject matter compared to some of the other winners, and it wasn't received as well in theaters nor streaming services considering it was a Paramount and Apple TV original. They were beaten out by mostly Oppenheimer, which makes sense overall, but it's still unfortunate for the movie cast and crew. Overall, fans may have enjoyed it, but like many other things, the Academy did not care for it. Second to last, we have how Timothée Chalamet was there for one category. Not only was he there for his role in Wonka, and was only nominated for 2 categories technically, both based on his character, but he lost in both categories as well. He and Kylie walked in there like they were big shot talk of the town just for him to lose. The least they could have done was be there on time to create less of a spectacle for themselves since he seemed very confident he had the win. That's what happens when you get too full of yourself and your acting skills. You lose in front of your girlfriend, and the embarrassment from that was enough to take him down a notch. And last but not least, we have how the entire thing was described as lame and chaotic. Between Jo Koy's secondhand embarrassing monologue, which caused even Selena Gomez to bow and shake her head, to the lack of excitement from many attendees, it was described as rushed and unpolished, like he could have used some refining before he went on stage. People even described this year's Golden Globes overall as forgettable, and it was just a blur of talking heads and jokes that fell flat. At least this year, the champagne wasn't lukewarm like Jennifer Lawrence predicted. Out of the 81 Golden Globes, this one was ranked at a level D of entertaining. It's embarrassing for the Academy, I suppose.
The Golden Globes, filled with celebrities and of course, drama. Jo Koy was the host for this year's event, and the majority of the public seemed to have quite the opinion. So what roast occurred that night? Seems like there may be bad blood after Jo Koy made a joke about Taylor Swift herself at the Golden Globes. Not just about Taylor, oh no, but her relationship with Travis Kelce, which we all know was a huge conversation as the media went crazy. So what did Jo even say? His joke was that the big difference between the Golden Globes and the NFL, on the Golden Globes we have fewer camera shots of Taylor Swift, and when the camera panned over to Taylor, she maintained a neutral face before taking a sip of her drink and keeping her eyes forward. Take a look for yourself. First of all, couldn't help but notice how stunning she looks in her green sparkly dress, and second of all, I do think she handled this roast quite well because it just appears she brushed it off even though it was an obvious dig at her relationship. And Jo Koy actually responded to those images of Taylor's reaction. When he spoke to Entertainment Tonight, he described her reaction as cute and then added, "I was just saying it's less cutaways, that's all." And it seems like the public has mixed reactions, with some thinking Jo went too far and others feeling sympathy for him as they acknowledge hosting these events aren't easy, as you are meant to take digs at the audience. Plus, he didn't write all the jokes himself, but was the one presenting them. Do you think his roast against Taylor was too far or not at all? Hello, love. Sorry for the bad British accent, but I'm trying to transition into the topic of the royal family because at events like the Golden Globes, they are roasted. More specifically, it was about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Jo said, "It turns out Harry and Meghan Markle were still getting paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing, and that's just by Netflix." I honestly am curious about what your thoughts on this joke were, because some called it brutal and others aren't even focusing on this one compared to his other jokes. But anyways, one user even shared their thoughts as they wrote, "So no one told Jo Koy that practically the entire cast of Suits is there in the audience of the Golden Globes, and so he went on ahead with that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle joke. The couple was not in attendance at the Golden Globes, so unfortunately we weren't able to get their live reaction. And of course, it couldn't be the 2024 Golden Globes without any reference to the blonde plastic doll. Yup, not even Barbie was safe from the roast. One reference that seemed to have the public less than impressed was when Jo Koy expressed how Oppenheimer was based on a 721-page prize-winning book on the Manhattan Project, while Barbie was based on a plastic doll with breasts. But he didn't stop there, because he also added, the key moment in Barbie is when she goes from a perfect beauty to a bad breath, cellulite, and flat feet, or what casting directors call character act. Many reacted obviously unhappy, especially because the whole point of the Barbie movie was to fight concepts like this. The Golden Globes cameras were also working hard because it captured Ryan Gosling's less than impressed facial expressions, and of course, Greta Gerwig's as well. Even Selena Gomez is seen in the audience putting her head down because yikes. And many even said Jo's joke was insane, especially because the whole Barbie movie talks about how hard it is to be a woman in a man's world. Plus, Jo even added that it was weird to be attracted to a plastic doll while watching the Margot Robbie-led movie. And a lot of people from what I've seen have shared their opinions and believe Jo's joke about Barbie was misogynistic and the worst joke he made all night. I don't know if you noticed, but recently a ton of celebrities have been rumored to be using Ozempic, which is a medication not meant for weight loss, but many have been using it for that reason. Elon Musk, Amy Schumer, and Sharon Osbourne are just a few who have admitted to using it. Well, Jo actually mentions Ozempic while making a joke about the color purple, which was one of the top titles of the night. His joke was that the color purple is what happens to your butt when you take Ozempic, and many didn't like this joke as it simply wasn't funny to them, and to be honest, I had to read a whole Reddit thread explaining this joke because I was a little confused and it didn't really help much. But the topic of Ozempic has been circulating all over social media after many celebrities allegedly lost a ton of weight by using it. So Jo was kind of bold with this one. He was also not afraid to roast directors as well. In fact, he roasted Martin Scorsese, who was the director of Killers of the Flower Moon. And that film was a Western drama which starred Leonardo DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone, and even Robert De Niro. But Jo's roast goes quite deep as it does not only talk about the director and the meaning of the film, well, at least to him, but also a whole race. Jo begins by saying white people stole everything and then also added, not like 97%, you guys stole 100% of everything. You took the land, you took the oil, you took the premise of the movie. And when Jo noticed a mixed reaction from the audience, he decided to continue and say, What, that was your premise? That's hilarious, I don't care, it's just that the room is really white. So many celebrities at the Golden Globes went all out, and I couldn't help but to love Margot Robbie's perfect Barbie outfit, and she even changed into a black version of her dress for the Golden Globes after party, which was a perfect Barbie to Oppenheimer transition moment. Plus, Heidi Klum wore a stunning gown, and Dua Lipa was wearing a black mermaid dress. But it was Jason Sudeikis who stuck out after many people began to notice his choice of shoes. No, it was not red bottom heels, but he wore sneakers to the Golden Globes. He was also wearing a t-shirt which fans couldn't help but to roast him for. The Ted Lasso star doesn't actually appear at award ceremonies often, so when we finally see him, he is wearing quite the opposite of others. Some called him dressed like a 9th grade English teacher, and others actually seemed to like his outfit, particularly for his shoes. He was wearing colorful sneakers, and some either hated it or loved it, but this wasn't the first time his outfit has gotten attention from the media. For the 2021 Golden Globes, he was seen wearing a tie-dye pastel hoodie, but it was over a webcam, and he actually talked about why he wore a hoodie. It was because it would be weird for him to wear a suit as a top and something comfy for his bottom, so he decided just to be comfy. To be fair, this one has been debated about the authenticity of the story, but it did make headlines, so we're going to include it anyways. And those involved also got roasted all over the internet. There was a moment where the camera shows Selena Gomez, Kaylee Sperry, and Taylor Swift seemingly gossiping as they were all close in a circle, and the public began to try to figure out what these girls were saying, and all they could go on was the clip itself, plus trying to read their lips. And that's when somehow people began to say Selena was gossiping about an interaction she had with Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet. According to the internet, Selena asked Timothy to take a photo with her, who she's been friends with and done projects with in the past, but that's when Kylie allegedly stepped in and said no. But And the internet always goes crazy, especially when it comes to drama, and this story made headlines and made me feel like I was getting flashbacks from Selena and Hailey's drama from last year. But a source spoke to People and claimed Selena didn't even interact with these two all night. Plus, some fans noticed that too and began to share the possibility of this really happening, and not a single video or photo was taken of Selena talking to Timothy and Kylie, which many thought would have at least been captured somewhere. I honestly agree with those saying if it did happen, it would have been filmed or something, but do you agree or disagree? Remember when everyone felt bad for Leonardo DiCaprio for always being nominated but not winning? Because it looks like Joe spotted a new Leo. Well, sort of. One of the jokes he made was about Kieran Culkin and poked fun at how he's been nominated 4 times but finally won. Then he also said, "Suck it, Pedro, it's mine." And when the cameras panned over to Pascal, you could see him laughing, then suddenly bursting into tears, which were fake. At least I hope. And this was because The Last of Us, which is a show based on a video game, was nominated for 3 awards at the ceremony, but unfortunately didn't win any. I remember all the hype for The Last of Us when it first came out. Everyone was watching it, talking about it, but I only personally seen clips here and there. And because it's based on a video game, I'm curious to know if any of you who have played it or watched it and your thoughts on it. I think someone forgot to tell Timothée Chalamet and Kylie Jenner that commercial breaks many see on TV is only on TV. And when those who watch the Golden Globes on their website, there was no commercial breaks at all, and instead was literally a camera on the two of them just interacting, and that included the two kissing and being all touchy. Plus, that wasn't all, because many speculated that you could see Kylie saying "I love you" to Timothy, and this caused it to circulate all over social media. And obviously the public shared their opinions on this, with many sharing how their heart is so full and happy, but on the other hand, others are saying it's cringy. And in the video footage, you're able to see Kylie touching his necklace and looking at it while the two seem to be having a conversation with a few kisses every few seconds. Personally, this is a relationship I never thought would ever exist, especially because they appear to be quite opposites, but I guess they both see something in each other, who knows. Do you like Kylie and Timothy together, or do you prefer her with Travis, or literally anyone else? And Timothy, I knew he dated Lily Rose Depp, but that's about my extent of my knowledge with his romantic interests. And of course, how could we forget who got roasted arguably the most all night? Joe Coy himself seemed to be in the middle of the fire, as his jokes caused a huge reaction from many. None of the celebrity guests in attendance were safe from Joe's roast, and Joe was not safe from the public. In fact, he actually responded after so many people seemed disappointed in his jokes. Joe said, "Some I wrote, some others wrote. Yes, I got the gig 10 days ago. Shut up, you're kidding me, right? Slow down, I wrote some of these and they are the ones you're laughing at." And his response was also mixed, as many believed he was just putting blame on some of the flat jokes on others, but at the same time could be the truth, who knows. He also did address the comments about Taylor Swift, which he admitted fell flat, and of course admitted his backlash he's been receiving does hurt, but it was a moment he would remember forever. Mixed reviews of Joe. What did you think about his hosting job? Award shows are always exciting to see who wins each category, but it is never really drama-free. Did you watch the Golden Globes, and did you disagree or agree with the winners?
VMAs from 2015. 2015 VMAs were just start to finish rough. Miley Cyrus hosted that year, which was a bad idea. Not that she did a bad job, but she was in the midst of a feud with Nicki Minaj. Nicki called her out when she took to the stage to accept her Best Hip Hop award, asking her what was good. Miley had just talked trash about her in the New York Times, and there was a brief back and forth, but all in all, it could have been way worse. Oh yeah, it did get worse. On top of dropping a numerous amount of F-bombs during the show, there was a wardrobe malfunction for Miley. At one point in the show, she did a bit where she was holding part of a drape over herself while changing, but the drape slipped and revealed her bare chest to the world. No censor was able to catch it at the moment, and any footage now is of course blurred, but that's what happens when you do it live. It wasn't just Miley that caused issues. Kanye West also made a long-winded speech that was kind of a rant, kind of a truth bomb, but mostly nonsense. The speech derailed the flow of the show and was just a little peek into the madman that was being created. Oh, and to top it all off, no Beyonce, no Madonna, no Lady Gaga. Why? Number 9. Michael's birthday speech. Travel back to 2002 with me for a moment. It's just a jump to the left. It's a musical thing. On August 29th, the VMAs took place on what also happened to be Michael Jackson's birthday. In case you forgot, Michael was the Thriller guy, Macaulay Culkin's best friend. You should not forget him. In honor of Michael Jackson and in celebration, MTV threw a birthday party during the event. Britney Spears was tasked with presenting Michael and delivering his birthday cake. During his speech to set up Michael's arrival, she praised him as an incredible performer and referred to him as the artist of the millennium. Things got a little awkward when Michael took the stage and started giving a speech, thanking the audience for giving him the Artist of the Millennium award. In one of the most uncomfortable moments in MTV's history, Michael Jackson started describing his childhood and how appreciative he was for the honor being bestowed upon him. The crowd was confused but ultimately decided to play along and gave him a massive round of applause. When Michael found out about the incident, he was actually more giggly than anything else. According to his management team at the time, he thought it was hilarious and felt like the biggest fool in the world. A happy birthday indeed. Number 8, Oscar Streaker. This is by far the oldest entry on this list, dating back to 1974. During the Oscar ceremony, as the host David Niven was introducing Elizabeth Taylor, who was presenting the award for Best Picture, as he was making a speech literally referencing how the world was having a bit of a nervous breakdown and that films provided an escape from reality, a man wearing nothing but his mustache and his birthday suit ran across the stage, throws up a peace sign, and disappears off the camera. He never says a single word the entire time he's up there. After Niven had a bit of a chuckle, he told the crowd that this was bound to happen, but was it? Even in 1974, it was pretty difficult to get into the Oscars without an invitation. Robert Opel, the man with the mustache, made his way through security by posing as a journalist, and while behind the scenes, he cut a hole in a large and expensive piece of curtain that was supposed to be used for projecting images, and then made it to the other side of the stage. It was later revealed that this was actually somewhat planned, as the man was encouraged by a producer to make an appearance, and to do what he did when Niven said his lines, which was a strange and memorable moment for sure. Number 7, Miss Universe. Getting the name wrong for an award show moment is one thing, and at the Oscars, there are at least a ton of people who can share in your disappointment if that ever happens. But in 2015, Steve Harvey, the host of Family Feud, was the host of the Miss Universe pageant, bringing women from all around the globe to compete for the title of Miss Universe. As Steve went on to announce the winner, he confidently exclaimed that Miss Colombia, who was really the first runner-up, was the winner, when actually it was Miss Philippines. The mistake was not his fault though. During the rehearsal, he was only supposed to say 2 names, the runner-up and the winner, but last minute they changed it to where he had to say 3 names, which really just threw him off and created a lot of chaos. The teleprompter said 1 name, but someone in his ear told him to just read the name on the card that he was holding. Those were 2 different names, and a fumble took place. He went backstage and got told he did a great job, but then he was told he said the wrong name, and instead of waiting for the news to come out the next day, Steve walked back on stage, revealed he made a mistake, and to the devastation of one woman and the delight of another. He received a lot of flack for this moment, but again, not really his fault. Number 6, Moonlight mix-up. This is one of the few live TV fumbles I actually got to see happen live, and I was just as confused as the rest of the world. In 2017, at the Oscar ceremony, Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway appeared on stage to present an award for Best Film. They opened an envelope and read the name out loud. At first, Faye was a little confused, as it was later revealed that the envelope said Emma Stone La La Land because she was accidentally handed a copy of the winners from Best Actress in a leading role. Because it said La La Land, she confidently told the audience that La La Land won the Oscar. As the crew from the project flooded the stage, Warren and Faye just looked confused until the stage was overflowing with excited cast and crew ready to accept their Oscars. However, 1 moment later, the director of the film, Damien Chazelle, saw the envelope and addressed the audience. A mistake had been made and they didn't win. A stagehand jogged to them, just bolted across the room, handed them the real winner's name, which was Moonlight, who had won Best Picture that year, not La La Land. There is a moment of people thinking it's some kind of a joke, but the director was being very sincere. The best part of this moment? Ryan Gosling is in the background, the lead of the movie, and a nominee for Best Actor, and all he is doing is trying to contain his laughter. He wasn't even upset, it was more like a "you gotta be kidding me" type deal. Something tells me that Faye and Warren won't be asked to present any awards anytime soon. Number 5, Adele Dazeem. A while back in 2014, John Travolta flubbed the name of one of the most famous women in musical theater history. At the Oscars that year, he was supposed to introduce Idina Menzel ahead of her performance of Let It Go, cause in case you didn't know, she voices Elsa. She was also Elphaba in the musical Wicked and a ton of other stuff, but I can't geek out about that right now. For this event, she was promoting the film Frozen and showcased a piece of music that became one of the most popular songs for the next 3 years. It's probably still in your head right now. He was so confident in his delivery, he introduced the audience to the wickedly talented, one and only Adele Dazeem. The moment spawned some parody Twitter accounts, and there's even an Adele Dazeem random name generator that's turned people like Jared Leto into Jed Lopez and Matthew McConaughey into Michael Mazzoline. Kinda like that one. The following year, the two appeared on stage together again, where Adina decided to drop some revenge. She was set to introduce the next round of nominees, and as a little joke, the Oscars executives decided to invite John Travolta back to team up with Adele. She introduced him by his new name, Glom Gazingo. The interaction between them seemed a little bit forced, but it was nice that they played the whole thing off as funny rather than an actual incident. Since then, John is supposed to triple check everything before he presents and has to practice pronouncing names constantly. Number 4, Will Smith versus Chris Rock. In 2022, Chris Rock was presenting at the 94th annual Oscar ceremony when he decided to make a little joke about Jada Pinkett Smith and her hair loss. Rock expressed his excitement to see her in a fictional G.I. Jane movie, and immediately following the joke, which was very funny and landed for everyone else, Rock stood in confusion because Will Smith started making his way to the stage. What's going on? Well, Will adjusted his jacket, took a firm stance, and clocked Chris right across his cheeks. He winded up his hand first to conjure the ultimate amount of force, and initially this was seen as a planned joke or something, but then Will started shouting several times at Rock to keep his wife's name out of his mouth, adding a couple F-bombs in there. Chris handled the situation pretty well, and he kept his cool, laughing it off for the camera, and he brought out the next award presenter. He was professional and was quick to get the night back on track, but unfortunately about an hour later, Will Smith won an Oscar for Best Actor in a Leading Role because he played, Richard Williams, the father of tennis superstars Venus and Serena, in a movie. But during his speech, he gave a half-hearted apology for his actions before claiming the situation was due to his months of portraying the father on set, leaving him with an extreme paternal sense to protect his family. Unfortunately for Will, the slap was enough to get him banned from the Oscars indefinitely. And on top of that, he seemingly canceled himself, now being seen as an aggressive man with no impulse control. He was fired from upcoming projects, and right now he just sits at his home polishing his one and only Oscar next to one single lit candle in the darkest room of his mega mansion. Number 3, Adrien Brody and Halle Berry. We're popping back again to 2003 at the Academy Awards, where Halle Berry presented Adrien Brody with the award for Best Actor in a Leading Role. Normally, when you accept an award like this, you walk on stage, thank the person who announced you, and give a little speech, but instead, Adrien grabbed Halle Berry's face and pulled her in close, planting one right on her. At the time, the incident was brushed off and nothing was thought of it, but a couple of years ago, Halle admitted that the moment was unplanned and she had no idea what was happening. At the time, this moment was seen as comedic or just some fun between friends, but in 2023, the moment feels a lot darker and it's pretty clear that Halle was uncomfortable. Number 2, Jennifer Lawrence. This is one of the more memorable award show moments of all time that she may never live down. In 2013, while walking up the stage to accept her Oscar for Best Actress, Jennifer took a little tumble and tripped on her dress. She stood giggling for a moment, but eventually made her way to the stage, but the following year, she fell again, only this time on the red carpet, and again the next year. People started to notice a pattern and started to think that maybe she was just doing it on purpose to appear more grounded. Not some Hollywood elite who knows how to walk properly, because if you're not famous, then you can't walk straight. Those are the rules. Eventually, she got her footing down and has not made any more on-air tumbles in recent history, but we can chalk up the moments to Jen wearing a dress that was a little bit just too long and not paying attention to where she was stepping, but that's about it. And at number 1, the Kanye snub. Now, there are so many reasons that Kanye West is banned from attending another VMA show in his life, and most award shows. Now, we could chalk it up to him being a cuckoo. After all, he was fired from basically every company he worked for when he posted some pretty bad tweets that I will not get into. But the reality is that Kanye was banned in the mid-2010s following several public mishaps, as well as one onstage incident that people still talk about today. The incident took place in 2009 when Taylor Swift was trying to accept her award for Best Female Artist of the Year. Kanye stormed the stage, took the mic from her hand, and told everyone that he was gonna let her finish, but that Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time, guys! He didn't sound that nerdy, but Taylor still jokes about the incident to this day. While she was in Mexico City this year for her Eras tour, she took to the stage to play her piano and the crowd started chanting her name. She said that having someone interrupt you by chanting your name is actually the best way to be interrupted, and she should know. Kanye was issued a ban from the following year, but he has since received a lifetime ban from the VMAs and from his fame in general.